Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Monday, 3rd of October, 2022. Good morning, Uganda. It's a fresh new week. Welcome back from the weekend. Tell you what, it's also a fresh new month. Well, we were not able to start with you right from the start of the month because, well, the weekend did take the biggest part of that. But we are here to make sure that we again help to start off the new month. Now, I don't know what your plans are for this month, but honestly, I would really want to think that all the plans will come to play. All the goals you've set definitely will be coming into play as we find our way around the month of October. Now the question though is, how is your October starting off? On a good note or a bad note? For you as an individual and of course as a country, how do you feel we are starting off this month of October? We are yet to find out from the discussions we are about to have this early morning. And of course when I say we, I mean myself, Philomena Masco, and the whole Good Morning Uganda team. As always, I do have Robert Chirabonyonyitono, I have Molin Kenyana and Felix Nkunda. We are here to help you to make sure you navigate through this morning. It's quite a cold one in several parts of Kampala, at least from what we've noticed. Well, if the rains or the drizzles haven't gotten to your place, be certain that somewhere you'll find some parts of the road a bit wet. So I don't know how we are going to find our way around this Monday, but I am sure we will. But for the starters, I need to welcome this gentleman and the lady from the weekend. Robert, welcome back from the weekend. I want to hope you had a good one. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and good morning the entire team, Molin, Felix, and of course the big mighty team that is behind the scenes that makes sure we are here every morning. Good morning to you and thank you for the good work. Now, October is a very dear month to me.
Yes.
Because the month in which I was born. But away from that, I think we've had fairly a good start for the farmers. The rains, much as sometimes they're destructive, but the good thing is there is rain. We rather have these than when it is completely sunshine, where even grazing your animals is very hard. But also this continued Ebola thing, it seems it's not going to be as easy as we earlier thought.
Yes.
Because we've had a number of incidents, but it was the Zaire, which is easy. When it comes to Sudan, even when we had it in 2002, those that remember very well, we lost almost 200 people, including medical superintendent, that is of Lacho Hospital, Dr. Matthew Lukuya. And earlier on, one of my colleagues was so scared, told him, well, we're in this together. And we just have to make sure that we continue taking the precautions to save a life. But otherwise, my weekend was fine. Apart from a few disturbing incidents, there's this story that ran a number of stations where there are people in UPDF uniform.
Yes.
And they abducted someone from Chireka. And then he was dropped in Kayunga, around Katosi. When the police spokesperson, Deputy for Kampala Metropolitan, came out and said, much as these guys were in uniform, these were thugs. They robbed him of his 2 phones, about $700,000 and $300. But he comes up and says, in broad daylight, people thought this was an operation.
Yes.
So that was something that was disturbing me. If we are seeing people in uniform, armed properly, looking at security operatives, then later police comes out and says, hey, these were thugs. But either they did it, people thought they were conducting an operation. These are people who had either stolen or they were, and these were Pakistan nationals. So I find that very disturbing a bit.
Well, Robert and very many other people share the same sentiments. Actually, the big question is, how do civilians access the military fatigue, which is, you know, the uniforms? How do they access these things? Because you would think that they are limited to the very specific people who are meant to be wearing this. But anyway, we are yet to also find that out, and I hope that eventually police will give us more updates. How? I mean, how? Because there are more deeper issues here. More deeper questions to be asking. Well, Molin, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena, and the team. And of course, I want to say good morning to our family out there. Welcome back from the weekend. Of course, a lot did happen, the sad news and then the good news. Of course, I don't know whether it is good news. For my highlight, it was the Manchester City Man U game. And I'm here, you know, consoling people on my team who happen to be Man U fans. I mean, was it football? Was it netball? I don't understand. But again, still about football, on a sad note, Philomena, there was an incident in Indonesia where at least 129 people died over a riot in a football pitch. What happened is that the guys at home felt that they were cheated after they lost a game to the visitors, but they took it all out and, you know, held one another for the, you know, for the visitors, and a lot of people died, and about 180 people were injured in that instance. It's just, you know, one that is going to be in history of Indonesia. It's no wonder the President Widodo came out to say this is something they had not seen before and they are going to investigate. So all matches have actually been suspended in Indonesia until they put enough security guidelines to see that such instances don't happen. But that was a really sad, sad event.
Well, I don't know how to term that. Is that really being very passionate about a game that you would go that far? Well, seeing that my interest does not grow that deep, maybe just hear from the people who are quite passionate about soccer.
If you find a Man U fan, Musasire, Mukwate, Kote, Tuga, you know, stand by these people. You don't know what they're going through at such a trying moment.
Good for us here. We have Felix, who is also quite passionate about sports and soccer. I don't know, maybe he can tell us. Felix, I don't know, is that what they call being passionate about a certain kind of sport, or does that go, that's being a bit extreme? Good morning.
Let me tell you something about sports. Many people are very passionate about the things that they love. I remember growing up, we used to have challenges like what Molin did just say that happened in Indonesia. We used to, I remember whenever we used to go out for away games, Lubiri versus Old Kampala, you expect a fight. So what used to happen? Yes. They used to put the games in a neutral ground. We used to play, at least all the games I played were in Nachivubo.
Yeah.
You'd never go to each other's schools because
sure
it was expected.
Chaos, just in case.
Yes, I remember last time Lubiris, Uganda Matters, Lubiri, all those schools, they used to fight a lot, like Chitende versus Chiburi. You would expect a fight, definitely. So you used to have a neutral ground. No, so I really know what that. I've seen people fight because of Arsenal, because of Man U.
I mean, there is what sometimes they indulge in banter, but then there are times it really goes a bit extreme.
It will definitely go extreme because it is sentimental. I've seen marriages break up. Because I can imagine a marriage of now yesterday if the wife was Arsenal and the husband, rather if the wife was Manchester and the husband was Man City. Yes. What conversation do you have after the game? Because and the problem is how we support as black people. We always, I don't know how they say, we put in onions. We always put
your catalyst.
Exactly. You know, you catalyze every color. So it's that kind of thing that no one brings the heat and all these things. But it was a good weekend.
Yes.
There's one thing I learned. One time I met an old man somewhere in a city called Aberdeenshire. But he told me that every time you wake up alive, it's a good day. So whatever happens is, by the way, if you don't get money, if you don't, as long as you wake up alive, it is a good day. So it was a good weekend, I must say. I woke up alive, healthy, happy and up, spent some good time with family, and definitely back at it again on Monday.
Yes, I think with all what is going on, honestly, right now, you need to be able to cut out some time for your family because there is just a lot happening around us.
Trust me, if you don't do that, you're going to deal with your own self. Like I told someone, I have a friend of mine who has lots of mood swings. So I was telling him, tell you what, dude, you're only a slave to your character. And this is probably for me something that I took time to meditate upon the whole weekend, that how we behave, we become slaves to our own character, our own attitude.
Yes.
Like, have you met someone who is just having an opaque attitude about life? Like, they're so negative about everything. They want to fight with everyone. They're gloomy. They're like, everything is gloomy about them. And I'm like, dude, you can only be your own slave.
Yes.
So I think as we start this new week, the beautiful month of October, Robert did say it's a blessed month. For me, it's equally a blessed month my birth month as well, my mother's birth month, and my best girlfriend's birth month. That's my grandmother's.
Yes.
So we were all born, my brother was born. So it's a month for us of celebrations, full of cuddling, full of candlelights, and definitely full of love. In the Catholic Church, it's a month for Mother Mary.
Absolutely.
We will be doing the rosary, starting first up to the end of the same. So for some of you, please cut out some time to recite the rosary. If you cut at least 3, or at least pick up 1 decade of the same. And
while they are at it, they shouldn't forget to pray for the country.
Uganda.
Yes. Uganda.
Uganda. we need lots of prayers, trust me.
Yes.
Have you guys noticed how like people are just angry lately? You just find someone in the streets and they just
There are so many reasons to be angry.
they look like something is wrong. Like the whole country, everyone is blaming everyone, and we're like, we need prayers.
If
So
you're
really,
driving on the road, you'll see the rage.
Exactly.
My God.
I think that our Christians, the Catholics, we should really take it upon this month to pray to the Holy Mother for this country and people to get in a happier mood, or even to get happy opportunities, because this has to change. It has
You go on
to.
social media, you're like, this level of violence.
It's just it's not normal, and I think Ugandans should really also pick up the pace in terms of prayer, because you can pray for yourself. And I'll tell you one thing. In the Bible, John chapter 14, verse 14, it says, whatever you shall ask in the name of Jesus Christ, that he will grant. So let's pray. Let's ask Jesus to intervene.
Peace of mind.
Yes.
Jesus, joy, ask Jesus, please.
Yes, we really need to do the divine intervention. I share the same sentiments with the gentleman and Molin. So really spare a minute or two, and better not necessarily for just the Catholics, anybody. When you kneel down, spare a minute and pray for the country, for general happiness and things to get back, things to be much, much better. Well, there is a lot that did happen, of course, over the weekend when it comes, of course, to the Uganda as a country, to the East African region, crossing over. We are seeing coups that were taken over in Burkina Faso. I don't know if you guys caught that story. Of course, as far as we're standing right now, the military leader has agreed to step down, but we don't know how that is going to go down. At least this was the communication that came in from different leaders, religious leaders in that country. We're yet to see how things are going to be progressing over there in Burkina Faso. That and many, many more stories we'll be taking you through right now. But first, we go through some of our local stories. Robert.
And we'll begin with matters of security, where authorities in Karamoja sub-region are working clock to unite 13 tribes there that have become a problem. Security authorities said they are to unite 13 communities that live in Karamoja sub-region. That is Moroto District Residence Commissioner William Wopua made this revelation at a local best accountability forum organized by Office of the Prime Minister at Naduget Sub-County headquarters in Moroto District.
Of course, still looking at local stories, the Ministry of Health has developed a 3-month Ebola response plan estimated to cost about 65 billion. Now, the Minister for Health, Dr. Ruth Cheng, says her ministry is working with health development partners to contain further spread of this disease.
And away from matters of health, we now move to causing accountability, where the chairperson, board of directors, Mulago National Referral Hospital, Dr. Edward Kasinje, wants all health facilities, both private and public, to adopt electronic system of managing patients. This call comes at a time when most health providers are still using paper-based systems in patient management.
Now in Yumbe, Muslims in Yumbe district did celebrate 100 years of Islam since 1916 at the event that was held at the Aliyanga Islamic Center in Kuru sub-county, where the first 19 Muslim converts started their Islamic faith, and the celebration was characterized by a fundraising drive whose proceeds are expected to boost education in this district.
Now, elsewhere, starting off with what happened over there in Indonesia, at least 125 people died in a crash at an Indonesian football match that has become one of the world's worst stadium disasters. Hundreds were also hurt in aftermath of home team Arema FC's loss to bitter rivals at the overcrowded stadium late on Saturday in Malang, East Java. The crash took place after police tear-gassed fans who invaded the pitch. As panic panic spread, thousands surged towards Kanjuruhan Stadium's exits, where many suffocated. FIFA, the world's governing football body, states that no crowd control gas should be carried or used by stewards or police at matches. The organization's president, Gianni Infantino, said that it was not necessary and it was a dark day for all involved in football and a tragedy beyond comprehension. Now, one eyewitness told several media outlets that police had fired numerous tear gas rounds continuously and fast after the situation with fans became tense. Next to one exit gate, a hole smashed through the wall testifies to the desperation to escape the crash that developed. And moving on, Pope Francis has for the first time directly appealed to Russia's President Vladimir Putin to stop the spiral of violence and death in Ukraine, saying he's haunted by rivers of blood and tears. The head of the Catholic Church also condemned the annexation of 4 regions of Ukraine, saying it risked a nuclear escalation, and urged Putin to think of his own people during an address dedicated to Ukraine in St. Peter's Square. One Vatican official said the impassioned speech was somber. It was reminiscent of a radio peace appeal by Pope John XVI in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Francis has often condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the death it has caused, but it was the first time he made a direct personal appeal to Putin. My appeal goes above all to the President of the Russian Federation, begging him to stop the spiral of violence and death, even out of love for his own people, Francis said.
And in Burkina Faso has overthrown military chief agreed to step down 2 days after army officers announced his deposition in the country's second coup in this year. Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba offered his resignation in order to avoid confrontations with serious human and material consequences, according to a statement on Sunday by mediators. Now, influential religious and community leaders held mediation talks between Damiba and the new self-proclaimed leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, to resolve the crisis. President Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba proposed his own resignation in order to avoid clashes, said Amidua Yamuogo, a spokesperson for the mediation effort. Damiba set 7 conditions for stepping down. They include a guarantee of security for his allies in the military, a guarantee of his security and rights, and an assurance that those taking power will respect the pledge that he gave to West Africa's region bloc for a return to civil rule within 2 years. In climate news, the UN scientists have unveiled a plan that they believe can limit the root cause of dangerous climate change. A key UN body says in a report that there must be rapid, deep and immediate cuts in carbon dioxide emissions. The global emissions of carbon dioxide would need to peak within 3 years to stave off the worst impacts. Even then, the world would also need technology to get carbon dioxide from the skies by mid-century. After a contentious approval session where scientists and government officials went through the report line by line, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, has now published its guidance on what the world can do to avoid extremely dangerous future. First, the bad news: even if the policies were to cut carbon that governments had put in place by the end of 2020 were fully implemented, the world would still warm by 3.2 degrees Celsius this century. Now, this finding has drawn the ire on the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
Well, with all that is going on, at least we can assure you that there is something we have for you when it comes to your health. Definitely, we know that we are always preaching the gospel for you to make sure that you are in check, especially with all these unforeseen, outbreaks of diseases. I think it's quite a noble view as a person, and also just as a means of being a bit cautious when it comes to your health, to make sure that you're always in check. And lucky for us, we do have a gentleman here who is good at spreading that gospel, Robert.
We always want you alive, we want you healthy, because that is the only way you can be part of this team. If you're sick, you're bedridden, you're not feeling fine, maybe you may miss this very informative show. Now, to ensure that you're in good health, we have Hallelujah Reflexology products here. That is Hallelujah Ginger Tea, Hallelujah Banana Fruit Juice, and Hallelujah Tamarind Drink. What these drinks do, they boost your immune system at just 1,500. Get yourself any of these 3 brands, and I guarantee you, you'll be healthy, but as well, they're also very tasty, and you will enjoy them.
Well, there is really a lot that we have to unpack for you as Good Morning Uganda still goes on this Monday morning. Of course, we want to make sure that you are ready to kickstart the week. And of course, with the info that we'll be availing you with, we do have updates that will be coming in, of course, from the traffic. We do have the big stories in the papers that you can look out for, but also we'll be having some more on climate or weather change. Any information related to that we'll be giving you, not forgetting our newsreel, where we do have a special guest who will be giving us more, especially when it comes to this Ebola outbreak. What is happening? What is on ground? What measures are being taken? Are people being careful and serious about this? Speaking of Ebola, the Minister of Health, that is Honorable Dr. Acheng Ruth, she was warning people who are coming out to say that this is just witchcraft. Okay, Ebola is witchcraft. There is a sect of Ugandans who actually are believing that Ebola is somehow has a relationship with witchcraft.
And you know how she arrived at that? Because the first family of the people who contracted Ebola, they thought one of their relatives was bewitching them because he had just bought a tatarori, and they believed he had sacrificed them to get the wealth. So they wasted a lot of time running into witchcraft, not until the LC1 committed the LC3, then they committed the RRDC, and that's how they were able to begin interventions.
So again, we keep telling you, do not let yourself be misinformed. Make sure that you get updates from the right sources. The Ministry of Health is one of the right sources. They keep updating us every now and then how we are standing as a country when it comes to cumulative cases, cumulative deaths, how many people are being tracked down. All these statistics, make sure you get them from a very, very, very well-informed source to avoid being misguided by wrong information. Well, today being a Monday, obviously, we do need some inspiration to kick the Monday blues, to kick the anxiety that is, taking over the country. And I mean, to see that we start off this month of October on a new clean slate. After this, when we get back, of course, it will be Good Morning Uganda Newsreel.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
God will make a way, take one.
Raising your animals is very hard, but also this continued Ebola thing, it seems it's not going to be as easy as we earlier thought.
Yes.
Because we've had a number of incidents, but it was the Zaire, which is easy. When it comes to Sudan, even when we had it in 2002, those that remember very well, we lost almost 200 people, including medical superintendent, that is of Lacho Hospital, Dr. Matthew Lukuya. And earlier on, one of my colleagues was so scared, told him, well, we're in this together. And we just have to make sure that we continue taking the precautions to save a life. But otherwise, my weekend was fine. Apart from a few disturbing incidents, there's this story that ran a number of stations where there are people in UPDF uniform.
Yes.
And they abducted someone from Chireka. And then he was dropped in Kayunga, around Katosi. When the police spokesperson, Deputy for Kampala Metropolitan, came out and said, much as these guys were in uniform, these were thugs. They robbed him of his 2 phones, about $700,000 and $300. But he comes up and says, in broad daylight, people thought this was an operation.
Yes.
So that was something that was disturbing me. If we are seeing people in uniform, armed properly, looking at security operatives, then later police comes out and says, hey, these were thugs. But either they did it, people thought they were conducting an operation. These are people who had either stolen or they were, and these were Pakistan nationals. So I find that very disturbing a bit.
Well, Robert and very many other people share the same sentiments. Actually, the big question is how do civilians access the military fatigue, which is, you know, the uniforms? How do they access these things? Because you would think that they are limited to the very specific people who are meant to be wearing this. But anyway, we are yet to also find that out, and I hope that eventually police will give us more updates. How? I mean, how? Because there are more deeper issues here. More deeper questions to be asking. Well, Marlene, good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena, and the team. And of course, I want to say good morning to our family out there. Welcome back from the weekend. Of course, a lot did happen, the sad news and then the good news. Of course, I don't know whether it is good news. For my highlight, it was the Manchester City Man U game. And I'm here, you know, consoling people on my team who happen to be Man U fans. I mean, was it football? Was it netball? I don't understand. But again, still about football, on a sad note, Philomena, there was an incident in Indonesia, yes, where at least 129 people died over a riot in a football pitch. What happened is that the guys at home felt that they were cheated after they lost a game to the visitors, but they took it all out and, you know, held one another for the, you know, for the visitors, and a lot of people died, and about 180 people were injured in that instance. It's just, you know, one that is going to be in history of Indonesia. It's no wonder the President Widodo came out to say this is something they had not seen before, and they are going to.
Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Yo! Go!
Airtel is giving you bigger data bundles for the same price. Dial star 175 hash to choose from our range of bigger Chillax bundles that don't expire and stay connected longer to loved ones. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, thank you for joining us once again for this very special segment of the Good Morning Uganda newsreel on this third day of October 2022. My name is Philomena Masco, and I am glad to have you, our viewers, be with us right now. Well, if you did start off the show, of course, with us, it's always a pleasure to have you stick it through all the way. And well, if you have just joined in, I must say that it's not too late for you. It's Monday, a fresh new week. Again, allow me to welcome you back from the weekend. It was quite an active one for very many of us, but the new week is definitely here, and we have to focus our energies on seeing how we are going to find our way through this entire week. But of course, Uganda is a country definitely where we are standing right now. There is quite a bit of tension and pressure and, you know, anxiety from the different parts of the country. Now, why? Of course, seeing as we are dealing with an Ebola outbreak, which, by the way, did not come up so long ago. I think it's about like 2 weeks now, 2 to 3 weeks as we are dealing with it. Of course, Ministry of Health has come out to warn. They have tried to do all the awareness that they can to make sure that everybody is in the know of what is happening. But we also know that it did break out from Mubende district, which has been, of course, termed as the epicenter of this Sudan strain. Now, of course, doctors have also come out to warn that there is about 30% of a survival when it comes to this strain compared to the Zaire strain that we have been dealing with initially before. Now, this morning in studio with me, I do have a very special guest who will be telling us what is happening exactly, considering where she's coming from. I am joined by Miss Phoebe Namulindwa this morning at the RDC of Kasanda District. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, our listeners.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us this morning, and of course, seeing as we're going to be talking about this Ebola thing, I must say that the pressure is a bit high. And I mean, following the conversation we were having just earlier on, everybody is everyone wants to know what's happening. But maybe just to go through some of the statistics before we of what is happening. As of 1st October 2022, of course, from the Ministry of Health, new cases are standing at 3, active cases on admission are standing at 24, cumulative confirmed cases are standing at 41, and cumulative deaths are standing at 9. Now, when it comes to contacts listed for follow-up, the number is standing at 702, and of course, when it comes to the new deaths, 1 death has been registered. Now, this is information as of 1st October 2022. Today being 3rd, of course, we expect more updates coming in from the Ministry of Health. But back to Kasanda District, Ms. Phoebe. Now, we know that generally, how is Kasanda right now before we get into the details? I mean, if you could give us a general overview of what's happening there, maybe you could take us through some of that.
Okay, in Kasanda, of course, the tension is a bit high because we all know that this is a very deadly virus. So what we're doing as by the way, I'm the chairperson of the task force, the district task force. Okay. So we convened straight away. We convened when we heard that there was an outbreak in Mubende. Yes. We convened the district task force basically to come up with measurements on or strategies that we needed to lay, so that we never wanted to wait for us to confirm, to get a confirmed case. So what we did, we managed to put up quite a number of things. That is, to mention, we rejuvenated the village task forces. Village task forces, these ones helped us so much during the outbreak of COVID. Yes. So we rejuvenated them. We reached out to the VHTs that we have, because we have 2 VHTs per village, reached out to the chairman LC1s plus their committees. And the reason as to why we reached out to them was because these are the people who are living in the communities. And we felt it wise that we needed to let them know that they needed to report every death that they were receiving in their locality.
Yes.
We also reached out to them and advised them, gave them information through the health educators on what needed to be done, the symptoms of Ebola. We also told them that in case to move household to household,
yes,
to ensure that they advise people to put up hand washing facilities, because looking at some of the ways that we've been advised by the Ministry of Health is where you need to wash your hands. So we encourage them to move door to door, advising people that in case anyone has any symptoms that are similar to those of Ebola, they needed to reach out to the health facilities, yes, that we have in government. We also reached out to most of them, and we also reached out to the private clinics, because remember the case that was confirmed, the 2 cases that were confirmed were as a result of this family moved from Madudu. That is one of the villages in Mubende. The 2 cases that we have that were confirmed, and I think 1 person passed on. So we realized that we needed to reach out very much to the community, sensitize them. Then also reaching out to the private clinics, because most people tend to move to private clinics, since some of our health facilities, the health center 3 are a bit far.
Yes.
So you realize that we reached out to them because some of them have ways of trying to handle some of people who come with certain symptoms. So we reached out to them through our inspectors and advised them that in case anyone came with such similar symptoms, they should inform our alert desk, which was created, plus other subcommittees. And these are basically they are the ones who are handling alerts. We also reached out to the Ministry of Health that sent us teams that trained our health workers.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, these health workers are the ones at the front line. So we felt it wise that they needed to be trained in case management and also elements of burial, because you realize that we had already lost a person. So in a way, initially, we were using Mubende, but as Kasanda now, we are trying to identify, we actually identified an isolation center, because the distance from Kasanda to Mubende is a bit like 65 kilometers. So we felt it wise that in case Kasanda might not be having a hospital,
yes,
but we have 3 health center 4s. So we on Friday, we even held a meeting with the National Task Force, which was headed by Honorable Minister John Luther Chen, and we had quite a number of things that we deliberated on, and I think she was a bit impressed, because as Kasanda, we had tried to really sensitize the people. We had tried to reach out to the people through the VHTs, through radios, because I have airtime, but on top of that, we also have other radio stations.
Okay.
So we send out bites to the leaders, because I also reached out to my MPs, the area MPs, and advised them to use all the platforms they have, because at the end of the day,
yes,
irrespective of the political party you belong to, Ebola doesn't discriminate. Yes. So I reached out to them, I reached out to all the leaders in Kasanda, and I think that is how we managed to find out about that family, yes, that had moved, because people were vigilant. They contacted us, and straight away, as this family, or the gentleman, Jeremiah, was being transported to Mubende, I reached out to the team that is in Mubende, and they managed that case as a case from Kasanda.
Okay.
So in a way, the good thing we have is that the gentleman has been discharged, and he's back in the area. But what we are trying to manage, we sent a team to do psychosocial.
Yes,
yeah,
which is really very
important, because this is a family that the husband lost a wife, he lost a child, and on coming back, we realized that we also had other children that had started showing symptoms.
Yes.
So in a way, we realized that there is a lot of stigma in the community, knowing that all of us know that Ebola is deadly, but we sent a team basically to help us try to talk to this family and the community. And myself, I'll also be going there to ensure that we encourage our people, let them appreciate, let them not discriminate these people, because Ebola, all of us don't know how, we know how Ebola is contracted,
yes.
But if the Ministry of Health comes out and declare this person should even be taken as a hero.
Absolutely, because
yes.
they're surviving survivors. But also speaking of creating awareness, I mean, how is the response amongst the locals? Because there are some challenges that have been coming. You can't believe it, but there are some communities where people believe that Ebola is still a myth. Absolutely. And I mean, yesterday we did, just a couple of days, we had the minister, that is Dr. Ruther Cheng, talking about how people are associating Ebola to, you know, witchcraft. Yeah. So having stories like that, sometimes it makes you question how these communities are responding. You're really doing quite a great job, I must say, in creating awareness. But when it comes to the response, how is that going?
Of course, remember we are dealing with communities that have cultural practices, that have traditional practices in a way. Like something maybe that I didn't tell you. For us as Kasanda, we reached out to the cultural leaders, we reached out to the religious leaders, we reached out to basically almost everyone. And the reason as to why we are doing this is because even that case that we had, these people, when they came from having lost their child from Madudu, when they came to Kasanda, they actually they thought that they were being bewitched. It's very unfortunate, but yes, it's true, because those are the kind of cultures we have in Kasanda, or rather in Uganda. So they went to one of the witch doctors, and that information, we got it after our contact tracers moved to the community, and also we got it from the local leaders. Some of the VHTs availed us with information, plus also some other Wananchi. So when they informed us of that, they told us that this family actually thought that they were being bewitched. So we had to also, these witch doctors were contacts in a say. So somehow we had to evacuate them and get them isolated. But generally speaking, having finished the pandemic of not even because COVID is still here. Yes, we still need to do a lot of awareness amongst the community. I told my people that I personally don't mind having a population that is under panic. Yes, honestly, because it gives you reason to be cautious. Yes, it actually gives you reason, because now when you look at people of Kasanda, most of them know. When we had those 2 confirmed cases, right now there are still some communities that still don't believe. Some are trying to politicize this particular epidemic, but we are also not giving up. We are encouraging them, because like the president said, Ebola is a deadly disease, but it can be controlled and it can be managed if we change our behaviors, if we change the way we perceive things, if we change some of the traditions that we've been accustomed to. So I believe that we need to continuously educate our people on the symptoms, follow the SOPs that have been given by the ministry, and us, the leaders, also need to reach out, okay? Every space you have, whether you're a leader or not a leader, just know that we're all citizens of Uganda and we all need to be alive. So please take note.
Well, we are talking about Ebola outbreak in Uganda, and this morning, of course, we're having a conversation with an RDC of one of the high-risk places, that is Phoebe Namulindwa, the RDC of Kasanda. But speaking of still this, we cannot fail to talk about the health workers who are really, I mean, at the front line when it comes to fighting this. Now, last week we did have some stories, very sad, where we did have about 5 of our health workers in Mubende specifically contracting Ebola, and unfortunately we lost one of the doctors. But like in Kasanda, when it comes to all these health centers, how equipped are they when it comes to the PPE? Because this is like, again, one of the greatest worries of health workers. They need the PPE to be able to help. So we need to help them to also help other communities. So how are the health centers doing when it comes to that kind of preparation? Okay, as Kasanda, of course, initially we had some little stock, because like I told you, we held our district task force the very first time when we had an outbreak in Mubende, and the essence of that task force meeting was to find out what exactly do we have in stock, specifically in regards to PPEs. We realized that we had very few, and then we tasked the DHO to put in a request or requisition to the Ministry of Health and National Medical Stores, and we've been promised that today, Monday, that we are going to have deliveries.
And at some point, I also recalled that in the meeting we had with the Honorable Minister and asked her to help us follow up, because sometimes you find that there are delays here and there. So we request the team from NMS to please help reach out, because like as Kasanda, we did our part. So we don't need, because the health workers we have are like on the front line, and we don't want to have our health workers affected with this particular disease. And we've already lost one. So we are requesting that the minister promised us that today it will be delivered. So I am here to follow up with my team in Kasanda to find out whether exactly this PPE is. But we're optimistic that today we might receive the PPEs.
Okay. Now, the other day when His Excellency, of course, was trying to address, when he was addressing the nation, especially in regards to this outbreak, he did say that there is no necessity to cordon off. Now, of course, from the time Ebola broke out in Mubende, it has spread to Chegegwa, Kagadi, and Kasanda. But in your opinion, do you think that people are actually following through? Because at the end of the day, if we fail to follow through, eventually they'll cordon off the area. But how are they doing, of course, in perspective of that? Is there really necessity for us to be, for those areas to be cordoned off, or not, or people actually following through?
Like the president said, because I trust his the team, especially the health team that advises him on specifically such matters. As the person who stays in Kasada, our community is not completely ignorant about it. It is our responsibility as leaders to get or create awareness and constantly remind our people of the SOPs that need to be followed, because at the end of the day, it is you and me who are supposed to do this. So, and prevention starts with you. So what we're doing is we are playing our role as leaders in Kasanda, plus other volunteers, because we also have other partners in health that are helping us. We reached out to some of the NGOs because we have a forum in Kasanda. So we encourage them, or we advise them that they needed to help us, because the most important bit right now is mobilization and creating awareness amongst the communities. So we believe that if the Ministry of Health advises otherwise, then the president might be forced to what? To put a lockdown. But as of now, honestly speaking, I think it is really not necessary. People are, the communities that we are reaching out to are adhering. They're adhering to the outbreak. Now that we even lost a person, and we still have like almost 4 suspects, 4 probable suspects in what? In Mubende under isolation. So we feel that we just need to increase on our diligence, increase on the sensitization and awareness, and also do monitoring, okay? Because sometimes you might find that people have a way of relaxing on some of the SOPs. But if you constantly have the VHTs that are moving door to door using megaphones, somehow, even if you have a very hard head, you're out to
constant and consistent
somehow
information
it sticks
coming
to your
you.
head, and like just like the hand washing. So you find that somehow you find yourself that you really have to do what history advises.
Well, we are talking about break, and of course we will do our duty, and we do expect you also to do your duty. Maybe just to still take you through some of the updates per the Ministry of Health, and as of 1st of October 2022, the number of new cases is standing at 3 currently. Looking at the cumulative confirmed cases, the statistics are showing 41, and the contacts listed for follow-up are standing at 702. Now, that is not a small number. Clearly, you need to be cautious wherever you are. And looking at the active cases on admission, standing at 24, and cumulative deaths are standing at 9. And of course, the registered new deaths right now are standing at 1. And of course, we have not yet, of course, gotten any statistics showing that this virus is in Kampala yet, where of course we do have quite a big population over there. But it does not necessarily mean that you need to be careless, because when you become careless, definitely you're giving the virus leeway. As of course we're trying to wind down this one now, what would you have to say to the people generally out there, especially people in areas where, you know, Ugandans, we have a tendency of panicking last minute. When you know that there are no statistics that have been registered in your home area, you feel you're doing okay, you're doing all right, until you know, the Ministry of Health says maybe there is one new registered case. So what would you have to say to the people in these communities where statistics haven't yet come up? Okay.
My advice to these communities is that please don't wait for any case or probable suspects to be announced in your area. Caution. The advice that the Ministry of Health is giving is public information. It doesn't discriminate. So my humble appeal to everyone who is out there is your health comes first and prevention starts with you. So please follow the advice that has been given by the Ministry of Health. There's something that always interests me, especially what the President always talks about. The fact that he always has his hands, both his hands uses them differently. Especially the left hand is his, the right hand is for all the other business. So it's something that we can actually adapt, okay? If consciously you train your mind to do something, then you can actually be able to what? To mitigate and prevent. This is just like a mechanism, a personal initiative. Then also I want to encourage our leaders, our leaders at every level. You need to go out there because people elected you to be able to be responsible, to be able to lead them. So please help us. Reach out to as many people as you can, so that we can be able to manage this deadly disease. The RDC might not be in any of the villages, but I have eyes there. The LC ones are the witnesses. Those are the first contacts, the first people we have in our areas of jurisdiction, in our villages. So LC ones, please help us. Like the President has already reached out to you, please help us work the VHTs and ensure that in case you have any suspect, any person who has signs and symptoms like the ones that the Ministry of Health has given us or has told us, please don't touch that person. Call a medical worker, report those cases to the alert desks that have been created. We've given out the numbers of the respective teams, committees, subcommittees that we've created. We have surveillance teams. The ministry gave us a surveillance. It was a COVID van, gave us vans, because as Kasanda we almost have 2 vans that we are using. So these teams are basically waiting. They are moving in our areas. So what you have to do is just reach out to us. Don't mind. For you, as long as you feel that this person is a suspect, don't touch them. Call us and our teams will swing into action. Then the other thing is about the cultural practices, the traditional practices that we have, especially when you lose someone. We always tend to contact or touch these particular bodies. So I would encourage that if you're not sure of what has killed or what this person has died from, reach out to us. Let's try to minimize some of these things that we get accustomed to, because that's the only way we can be able to fight what? This deadly disease. And also, I am reaching out and calling upon the Ministry of Health to please encourage and always reach out to us. In case I contact you, in case anyone contacts you, especially from some of these villages, your response teams must be able to avail information to us, so that we will be able to mitigate this and manage this deadly disease. Honorable Jen Ruth Acheng, please help us reach out like we discussed in our meeting. Please help us follow up on the issue of PPEs, plus the issue of the trainings that I asked from you, because our health workers really need to be trained before they roll out and move out into the communities.
Well, as a Ugandan, it's just very precautious that you understand the magnitude of the problem. And how do you get to know that? You need to understand, how does the Ebola virus spread? Now, number one, through open wounds on the skin. Now, this is very necessary information for you to know. And also touching sick or dead animals. You cannot afford to do that right now, because this is such a risky time. And also touching a person infected with Ebola, if they are showing signs and symptoms, of course, as communicated by the Ministry of Health, well, please keep away from this person. You have other ways of helping them, but don't necessarily get in contact with them. Now, touching the vomit of an infected person, again, is another way that you could contract the Ebola virus. And touching the fecal matter or urine of an infected person, This also opens up chances of you catching the Ebola virus. Having sexual intercourse with an infected person also does not bail you out from this virus. You will catch it. And looking at also sharing utensils and food with an infected person, this one is also a no-go area, so don't do it because you will contract the Ebola virus. Now, whether it is a suspected victim or already confirmed victim, it is definitely a no-go area for you. Now, touching the bedding of an infected person is also not advisable for you to do. And finally, touching the clothes of an infected person, I would say that you to be sharing clothing with anybody, actually it is too risky because you will not know, especially if it is in the early stages. Now the question is, how can you prevent Ebola from getting to you? It is actually a preventable disease for as long as you follow a few things here and there. It is severe and often deadly, but you can actually prevent it by doing the following. Number one, avoid direct contact with body fluids. Now, this cuts across from saliva to anything that is a fluid coming in from a person who is infected or a suspect. You should avoid anything to do with them. And if you must handle a patient suspected to be suffering from Ebola, well, wear protective material. Now, this is, examples could be gloves, we're talking about masks. All these help you to prevent catching Ebola. And persons who are suspected to have died from Ebola can only be buried immediately and by a very trained special team to do this. Not anybody can do that. So leave the burying to the people who are trained specifically to make sure you prevent the spread of Ebola. And in case you handle a person that you suspect to have been infected with Ebola, make sure that you wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water. Now, of course, if you also have any people in your community that you suspect could be having the virus, make sure that you report them to the nearest health facilities. We are lucky that we do have all these health facilities around us, so make use of them right now and report any suspect. Or you could even just send a free SMS or call 0800-100-066 and you can report on 8500. We can only beat this Ebola virus if we work together to make sure that we cut down on the rapid spread that it is happening right now. And like I did say, make sure that you stick with the Ministry of Health to get the right information to make sure that you are not out of the loop. Well, Miss Phoebe, thank you so much for coming this morning for the for the awareness, and I'm glad that you have seen it, you know what is happening, and clearly people can at least testify because you're speaking from experience. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, Good Morning Uganda will be continuing shortly after this break.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Yo! Go! Yo! Airtel is giving you bigger data bundles for the same price. Dial star 175 hash to choose from our range of bigger Chillax bundles that don't expire and stay connected longer to loved ones. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasos, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey! You don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Stay connected on the largest 4G network in Uganda using the Airtel 4G Pocket MiFi at only 75,000 Uganda shillings. It comes with 15 GBs free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 of your friends and family at a go. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today or call 0800 333 330 for free delivery within Kampala. Dial *175 *9# to activate free 15 GBs. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, in our papers, starting off, of course, with the press review, Daily Monitor, the big story, looking at queries over Museveni land deal. Now, the question marks, of course, are being positioned over there. Why is the president entrusting government to buy the land? Has the land failed to attract private buyers? And what is special with the Mogas oil dealer to attract such a favor as many local businesses collapse? Now, these are some of the questions Ugandans are now grappling with. Now, you can catch us on the full story in the Daily Monitor. This morning, we're looking at also the big picture over there, the Tanzanian doctor who was buried in Fort Portal, and of course the burial team is preparing to enter the body of the late Tanzanian Dr. Muhammad Ali at Fort Portal Regional Referral Hospital Public Cemetery yesterday. The doctor died of Ebola on Saturday and was not taken back to his home country because of fears it would spread the virus. I'm preparing the country for transfer of power. This is coming in from Norbert Mao. Now, in other stories, expect less rain from October to December, according to experts. And I guess much later, Ron Mullen will be drawing some emphasis on this. And Kamia runs to court over Kosase land report and giving you a pullout of the health living. Nakandi smiles in the face of challenges. Now, what challenges are we talking about? Get yourself the Daily Monitor this morning to know that and more. And on the second page, officials start Ebola screening at Malaba, showing you some of the travelers undergoing it. And 2 Ebola survivors are discharged from hospital. And taking you back in history, African leaders issue call for unity. The day was October 3rd and the year was 1948. Well, that and many more in the Daily Monitor this morning.
Well, crossing over to the New Vision Public Service as government issues salary pension guidelines. That is detailed on page 7, but also the big headline right there, Toyota recalls cars in Uganda. Full list of vehicle identification numbers inside. Now, your car could be among those. You need to check and see which cars are actually being recalled back to factory for receipts. Now, also in the New Vision, land grabbing as Museveni stops eviction of 500 families. That is on page 4 of the New Vision. But also Uganda at 60, innovators create device for pregnant mothers. That is on page 36. They give you a big picture right there as NEBI celebrates older persons. That was during the International Day to celebrate older persons in NEBI, at NEBI Secondary School, where the persons over 100 years received mattresses from the State Minister for Elderly, Dominic Mafabi, right there, taking a picture with them. But also on the oil project, Chinese ambassador castigates EU. That is a detailed story on page 6. And crossing over to the second page, innovators tipped on marketing ICT. Now that is also detailed right over there. Today in history, October 3rd, 1962, ANC not invited to Uhuru Fete. Well, that is interesting, but also back in 1993, Egypt uncovers ancient road, according to the archaeologists, racing to, evacuate land. Interesting.
Well, in the sports section of the Daily Monitor, Villa, looking at what transpired in Villa, well, starting off with Villa win to ease fears, and now this is of course in line of the Uganda Premier League, which did start over there. But we are also looking at the Sunday results. SC Villa's performance against Gaddafi with 2-0. Now, of course, when it comes to the Uganda Premier League again, they're still giving you more results of what happened over there. And going in onto the Premier League, Haaland, Foden crush United. Erling Haaland and Phil Foden plunder hat-tricks as a City pound United 6-3 in Derby, leaving, of course, very many fans very frustrated. And Oilers regain advantage in gritty finals game 3. Well, you should also look out for that in the Daily Monitor Sports this morning.
Well, and in the New Vision Sport, obviously they're also giving you an inside story on all Premier League results for over the weekend and what that was like. Now, it could be a Ugandan affair in December, looking at the East Africa University Games in Ndeje 2022. Of course, Ugandan universities will be expected to continue their dominancy when, the East Africa University Games kick off. That will be in December. And a touch draw, Uganda has never gone beyond group stages. Now they're talking about when the Cranes qualified for the 60th African Nations Championship, the CAN finals, of course, with Coach Mitchell promising to start early preparations. We are yet to see where that is leading, but of course, the New Vision gives you more of those stories. And of course, inside they also give you Uganda Open beacons when it comes to golf. There's a lot for you right there.
Well, make sure that you grab yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor and the New Vision to catch up on that story and many, many more. Well, going on to our roads, what's happening this morning as you're making your way to the city center? Well, today, number one, there are factors that you need to put into consideration. It's Monday. Everybody is really trying to rush to make sure that they get to town in time. And of course, seeing as we did have drizzles, we had some rains in different parts of Kampala. Well, that also needs to be put into consideration. Like I always advise, it's just a very, very necessary for you to wake up on a Monday morning very early to make your journey. If you want to make it to town, especially in time, not to be inconvenienced by any other thing or any other challenges. But this morning, as you're coming to town, of course, I want to focus on some of these areas where it's just quite necessary for you to make sure that you use, especially the shortcuts around Kampala. Now, if you're coming in, of course, from areas connecting in from Old Chira Road, where we do have cars coming in again from different parts of the city to get onto the road to get in Kampala, well, you need to use these routes. Of course, traffic is expected on some of these routes as you're trying to come in from Mulago, as you're trying to connect in from Chisasi, Chebando, all the way to make sure that you find your way around Old Chira Road. The traffic over there is building up on several parts of that road, so you need to also be in the know and be ready for that. And looking at some areas in Ntinda, well, I could say that Ntinda is also quite very busy this morning, and again, we do have cars that are always using these this as a main road, trying to join to different parts of the road. Cars coming in from Chimera Road, cars coming from Semawata Road. Well, they are all trying to find their way around it, and of course using Naguru Road as a main spot. Naguru is a bit very heavy on the traffic this morning. We do have several spots over there that are showing that maybe you need to start looking for some alternatives. Getting onto Katalima Road, which would be an ideal shortcut, I could say that it's also very busy this morning. So make sure that you plan your journey accordingly as you're headed towards Nakawa. Nakawa, of course, traffic is a bit expected there because we do have cars coming in from several spots. We have cars trying to join in from Chinawataka Road. We have cars that are joining in from the main Kampala Jinja Highway, of course, getting through Banda and all the way through Chambogo to join to Nakawa. So you would be expecting some traffic over there. And as you're making your way through Lugogo, we also do have cars that are coming in from several parts over here trying to join the main road of Lugogo to make sure that they join in on the main road. Again, of course, building up some traffic in that very specific part. And as, of course, you're continuing towards a town, and as you get closer, looking at the area around the Ministry of Internal Affairs, we always have a bit of a chaotic situation over there because we have cars coming in from several parts. Now, this is a very spot where we have cars coming in from Wampeo Avenue, we have cars coming in from Old Port Bay Road, we do have cars that are joining in from Yusuf Lule Road, we also have cars that are joining in from Station Road, of course, connecting in from areas of Makindye Division, all join this very main part to make sure that they can get to their respective destinations. So do expect the traffic there this morning as you're headed all the way. And of course, as you're continuing on that road, as you're getting into joining onto Kampala Road, you should be expecting again some of the traffic over there to make sure that you start planning. If you haven't well left your home, I must say that it would be ideal to map out your road to avoid all this traffic. But if you can't avoid it, like I already say, it's just necessary for you to continue being quite careful and on the road to make sure everybody is safe and sound. Whether you're a motorist, whether you're a cyclist, whether you're a pedestrian, it's quite necessary for you. And even for the children, I just want to pass out information when it comes to children crossing some of these roads. As a driver, as a motorist, you need to be a bit responsible and maybe give way to these children, because I do see a number of children trying to cross roads or finding a lot of difficulty on these roads as they're trying to cross. So you could be the responsible one and let these children cross some of these busy roads without having to cause any chaotic situation or accidents. Remember, we are trying to make sure that we drive down the number of statistics when it comes to all accident victims. We need our roads safe and for everybody. Well, I'll leave it at that from the traffic updates this morning, but we do have more coming in from weather and climate with Molen. Molen, we did see the rains. I don't know if you experienced rains in your area code, but where I come from, where I stay, there were some heavy rains, and when I came to town, it wasn't any different. I don't know, is this going to be the trend? Now seeing that experts are even warning that we're going to be experiencing a bit of less rains from October to December.
Well, it looks like our rains are still on. That is for our season, which was supposed to be starting from September up to December. So these rains are definitely still on, except now, Philomena, we are starting to see a little bit of reduction for the month of October, and that was to be expected. Now, it's not everywhere. Just a few places will be having a reducing trend. Otherwise, like places around Lake Victoria, mostly Western Uganda, will just continue seeing these rains coming up. So it's not going to be like everywhere we're seeing a reduction, because the rainy season is still on. And of course, now with Kampala, you start to see those scattered kind of rains. You know, it rains here and then, 500 meters away, it's not raining. That's just how the science is, especially when you have localized rains coming from the clouds that are just developing within the area. So yeah, it happens.
Well, take the word as you get it from the experts. I want to wish you a very wonderful Monday morning and a productive week ahead. And again, just to remind you, please be careful, do all that you have to do. Ebola is really out there, so make sure you get the right information from the right sources, because that is also very, very imperative for you as a Ugandan, and you need to understand the magnitude of this problem. We don't really want to have the statistics go higher. That is not something we want to see. I am Philomena Masco. Have a great morning.
Well, I'll take it from there, and of course giving you an update on what is happening with Hurricane Ian. That was the hurricane that did make landfall across Florida and Carolina just last week. And according to what we have now so far, local authorities are reporting that the death toll is now at 83. And of course, with a lot of damage and loss of property that is also reported, especially for Florida and of course parts of North Carolina. Now, what is also coming up from the presidential office, Joe Biden has actually told the action plans to make sure that there is a lot of recovery plans made for Florida as well as North Carolina. But also what is being looked at right now by scientists is that this event is definitely related to climate change, as this is one of the worst hit areas, and of course for the worst hurricane to hit Florida in over 50 years. So that speaks to the changes and variations that have been happening with the weather and climate across the US. But also they are still in recovery. Yes, the hurricane has now weakened, it has cleared off, but still, you know, it has been hard with recovery since there were still rains that were remaining in the aftermath of the hurricane. So even the numbers that we have now are just substantial, as recovery and the rescue authorities are still on ground to ascertain the extreme of damage and also the number of people that could have been lost from this hurricane. Now also we do know that this was really a huge hurricane, up to a category 4 hurricane. It did make landfall at that, meaning that it was associated with very strong winds, with heavy rains that actually did bring in all those effects. But also we know that it will be taking a lot of costs to rebuild that area. Now thousands of billions of dollars will have to be chunked into that area to make sure that they have recovery for that particular place. Now while we're talking about Hurricane Ian clearing off, there is another hurricane that has developed towards Mexico, and that is already named Hurricane Orilin, and that could bring flash floods, mudslides to Mexico. Now, one of the areas that have been forecast is the coastal area of Mexico, the southwestern coast, as this hurricane is forecasted to make landfall at a category 3 level. Now, that is also equally dangerous because it also comes in with very strong winds that could destroy a weak building, that could actually uproot trees. That's the kind of wind speed that it comes at. Imagine a speed of 180 kilometers per hour. Now that's the kind of speed that these winds come at. If you're driving, you imagine that kind of speed. That's the one that sweeps in, destroying buildings, destroying property. And of course now this is also projected to take nearly a path of Hurricane Maria. This was one of the the worst hurricanes to ever hit the area just in this decade alone. And of course what is also forecast for Hurricane Irilin is that it could be bringing a lot of damage in mainland of the coastal part of Mexico. But forecasters are already gone ahead to issue this, and they are, from the National Hurricane Center, they're saying that it could weaken just after a few days, but also landing at a category 3 will be something that is to be expected. Now, it has already brought in torrential rains across areas of southwest Mexico, the coastal area. That means that already evacuations are going on to make sure that at least the damage is reduced at that. But even then, the people who already remain in the pathway of these hurricanes, yes, we talk about the damage, you talk about those people that have died from Hurricane Ian. You wonder when that forecast was given, why didn't people evacuate? Now, all those plans always take place after meteorologists issue these forecasts, but just that some people do stay in the pathway, and of course they are caught up with those kind of effects. Now, it also goes to say a long way about how people take in climate science or weather science, because they do expect, that maybe it's just a forecast, maybe it won't happen. Now they end up losing their lives, losing property. But of course, the clear way would be to, get out of harm's way, and at least until, the hurricane has cleared, so that it is safe for people to get back to their homes. But in a way that they want to protect their homes, they already stay, and that is what causes a lot of damage. Well, Climate scientists have also analyzed most of the hurricanes that are starting to develop over the area, and of course that is also attributed to the fact that we've had a general increase in temperatures across the globe, and that is becoming favorable for most of these hurricanes to develop, most of these typhoons to develop. Just last week we saw Typhoon Noru that was hitting the Philippines, which is also related to one of those extreme weather events that are coming up as we look at environmental concerns and of course climate change. Now, talking of which, most companies have been moving to go green, to cut their emissions when it comes to climate action. Now, one of those that have been put on a highlight right now is the Neso company that has been put up for examination, especially when it comes to their environmental pledges. Well, the company is being actually put up for, one of the food giants actually to stop sourcing from the subsidiaries of Astro Agro Lasteri, which is a major Indonesian palm oil producer that has been accused by environmental groups on land and human rights abuses. Now, this move comes as multinationals face the increased repatriation and of course legal pressure from consumers and governments to clean up their global supply chain in a fight against climate change. Well, the company has also come up to tell media that for them it's about the suppliers to ensure that the palm oil from their 3 subsidiaries actually enter its supply chain. But also what is now on the concern of the scientists that are trying to analyze this situation is, if you're a company and the way you're getting your palm oil to process whatever food chain that you have, then it must be up to standard to ensure that you're going green as well. Make sure that you're cutting emissions, and this is why they're also being legally sued for not evaluating their environmental concerns, and of course that could lead to climate change. That means we do have a lot of these companies that are coming up to really ensure that they are increasing their costs to make sure they are going green. But if there is one company that is not ensuring that, that's like cheating with others that are really trying to make sure that we live in a global world where everyone is, observing climate action and of course moving towards, a better environment. Well, that is at that level, but as an individual, you could be wondering, what can you do to make sure that we are, all part of climate action, or trying to make sure that our environment is safe? Well, simple. Sometimes it's about your health. While it is good for you, it can also be good for the environment. Now, the scientists from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change have advised on some of the foods that you could actually be eating, and by doing so you'll be helping a lot with cutting down emissions into the atmosphere, and of course in turn getting into the climate action itself. Well, most of those are actually vegetables. You look at fruits like strawberries, you look at apples, you look at mushrooms actually, you look at a lot of these fruits, avocado, tomatoes, and of course onions. Well, when you include this in your diet, it means that these are directly consumed. Right from the garden, you get the fruits and you're able to take them. Right from the garden, you get the vegetables, you're able to take them. That means that you're taking some kind of a sustainable chain. You don't have to reheat them, because by doing that, you're probably using fossil fuels, you're probably using, gas, and, getting emissions into the atmosphere. But when you take it down to, specifically consuming these, you're helping with reducing on the electrification that in turn continues to put emissions into the atmosphere. So I say this is a very good advice. First of all, they are good for your body. Second, they are good for the environment. It's a win-win situation. This is one thing that you can do to also contribute to the climate action as we talk about, keeping temperatures to a normal level that is well below the rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Well, away from that, we also want to take a look at what is happening across Uganda this morning. We'll be tapping in from our satellites and see how the weather is like. Yes, we did start off with a little bit of rains across parts of Kampala, as well as areas within Wakiso and a little bit over the islands of Lake Victoria. But it looks like that system has already started to clear up, although we're seeing clouds that are starting to develop again across areas of Kampala. We do have that system that, is in those deep black colors to orange, That means that it is just developing right now, and most likely it is headed for the western part of Lake Victoria. It could be bringing rains towards the islands of Lake Victoria, that is across Kalangala. That system is likely to continue up to Masaka Rengo, meaning that we could be seeing rains for this morning over there. But of course, we also still have those clouds over Kampala, meaning that we could also be seeing a little bit of rains coming through for this morning. We already have cloudy weather as well across parts of Central. We're looking at Ruwero, Woblenzi, continuing up to areas of Mubende. We're also seeing more of those, a little bit of rains coming through, but that is over a few areas. We're also looking at the northwestern part of the country, that is across areas of Arua. We already started with those rains, but it looks like that system is also likely to keep around for quite a while. And of course, that will be continuing into your morning. Now, you also look at parts of central northern Uganda where we have Gulu, Lira, Kitgum. We're starting off with just a bit of cloudy weather, but those will also be resulting into rainy conditions for this morning. It looks like it's actually also going to have a little bit of cold weather as we start off Monday. Across the Karamoja region and eastern Uganda, that is across Moroto, Kotido, all the way towards Amuria and Soroti. We're starting off with quite a sunny morning for you. And of course, that will be with intervals of cloudy conditions for this morning, although we do expect a little bit of rains to come in later as the day progresses. Now, as you move over towards Mount Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale. We do have right now a little bit of clouds starting to develop, but that is also expected to bring in rains later as the day progresses, with quite some chilly weather within the lower 20s. Now, that is the same system that is expected to develop across the eastern Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Tororo, Jinja, where we have also parts of Buyende right there. That is expected to have a little bit of rains come through for this morning, but also that will be just over a few areas, and most of those will be clearing as we head towards the afternoon. Well, also looking at generally the situation, looks like we're starting off with mostly cloudy weather. That is across the southern part of the country, and of course more rains that are expected across the West Nile, and of course most areas within the central Lake Victoria Basin that will be expected to maintain that cool kind of breeze for this morning. Well, that is it in terms of weather. I want to wish you a wonderful morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
It's better to foster respect instead of fear and pain.
Cause a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices. The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasos, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Don't fear. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
We can't tolerate sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment is unacceptable in our school.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services. Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Welcome to English in a Minute. It's no surprise that cats like to sleep. A nap is a short period of sleep.
There you are. The movie is about to start.
I'm sorry. I got up at 5 this morning to go swimming, and then I helped a friend move some furniture.
Are you sure you aren't too tired for this movie?
No. I took a cat nap. As long as this movie isn't boring, I'll be fine. What are we seeing anyway?
The Long, Dark Winter. It's a 3-hour foreign movie. I hope you like subtitles.
A cat nap is just a short amount of light sleep during the day. This expression became popular in the 1820s. The person who first used it probably lived with a lot of cats and noticed just how much they sleep. And that's English in a Minute.
A logical, deeper conversation.
How many teachers in Uganda did you consult? But there's a mistake we are making. Which is good? Which is good? Which is good? Which is good? We went to this school, we ran it to Western, we ran it to Northern, we ran, then you come. Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
is that's a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak low.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
I think what is going to kill the parish model are all the misconceptions on how it's supposed to run. I know that the Prime Minister is listening.
Behind the headlines.
Charles, let us agree. We liberalized the economy. We are several nations put it together. Why don't you appreciate that? What if it fails? I'm happy and he's a good lawyer because he's not in power. The Parish Development Committee is functional. It is there. that there is a parish chief that the beneficiary is doing.
So we look at expenditure. We don't look at revenue. And that is the challenge we are giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
You return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Mama Sam, what's happening to my child?
And now I'm pregnant.
What?
As a father, get involved in family planning. Support your partner during pregnancy, childbirth, and plan together for your family's health needs. For more information, visit a health facility near you or call toll-free 0800 100 066. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100 066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
UBC TV this lovely Monday as we continue to discuss the outbreak of Ebola in our country, where day by day we are seeing cases are rising up. But today we want to focus on public responsibility as we fight this disease. But later on we expect to be joined by a commissioner from Ministry of Health who is in charge of epidemics and surveillance, Dr. Alan Muluta Niyonzima. But I'm with my colleague Felix Nkunda, whom we are going to be discussing more, ensuring that you're more aware of what can we do as communities, because we know government has a big role to play in this, providing the protective equipment for medics, providing the information in time, but us as individuals also have a responsibility, and as communities. One of them is knowing that this disease is with us and having the right information, then complying with the regulations. Felix, I don't know, when we talk about Ebola, so far there are so many stories coming in from here, from there, but I want us to begin with responsibility as communities. For any disease, the community, individuals have a responsibility. Now with this particular Ebola, the Sudan strain, what do you feel or think are those things that the community should factor in if we are to have victory over this disease?
Robert, I think consistently we have sounded the drums of knowledge. I think that's the biggest discussion for all Ugandans and for any stakeholders in the line of trying to fight this so-called Ebola. Sadly, we are not by far in ultimate position to avoid its spread by far because of our nature of ways, our nature of life. And if you have keenly interested yourself in the previous stories on how some people contracted it and we lost some people, you understand that some of the victims are because of customary or traditional ways. Remember the first family, we did talk about it much earlier, that in their minds it was witchcraft. Okay. The people thereafter who also contracted the same, it was because of ignorance. You know, we have people who escaped from hospital, then they crossed into another district. If you want to use these that have happened most recently, not talking about the 2007 incidents or the 2000 incidents, you will want to, based on these that we see and how we can address them in particular. One, the biggest challenge today as we stand is knowledge. Second to the same, and what I would want us to discuss, second to the same is perception. How are communities percepting this? In as much as Ebola is a deadly disease or virus for that matter, it has killed people, but the reason why we see people escaping from hospitals is because of the perception and how people are putting it. They make it look like if you are a victim of the same, you are probably an alien, you are a monster. That's why people are hiding now. You'll not have people come to health centers or hospitals because, so, information, the perception, but later on also the response from the most relevant institutions, therefore the ministry or the hospitals for that matter.
Does that bring in the issue of public trust? Because I've been to some communities, you know, as journalists, our ears must be on ground to get the views of the ordinary person. But you find some think of, this is also maybe another scheme for people to get money. There's that recently when they said a 6-month intervention plan of about 65 billion. Like, Bazita and say. Let's talk about that issue of public trust. Yes.
Yeah, on top of the three that I mentioned earlier, you may add issues of transparency and trust in terms of handling such as scenarios. Of course, consistently, this is anchored in the previous. You know, previously, how has this been held? Have we had trust from, have we had good execution from the authorities? Have they delivered as expected? So you may not judge people. In fact, there are also some stories that some people are saying in communities that why Mubende? Is it because there's gold, there's now high, all these things? What is the plot? That's why I told you, in my three approaches, I talked about the issue of information, perception, and also later on response. That information is key. The reason why you're having this skepticism is because do we have the right information in our people? Information is key in dealing with any sort of endemic or pandemic or any outbreak. That do people have the right information? How is this disease caused? How is it treated? How do you deal with it? So for me, as even you get into this discussion with an expert, Robert, I think it's important that you address the tripartite approach. Do we have the right information out there? Importantly, how are we dealing with the mindset of the people? But thirdly, also the third one also, how available and how ready are response teams? We have heard that some hospitals don't have the relevant PPE, and not every doctor has a training. So I think this is something for you to answer with our expert we're going to be hosting just right after.
Well, thank you so much, Felix. We'll take a break, and when I return, I'll be with Dr. Alan Moruta, joining us, a commissioner from the Ministry of Health, with whom we are going to be discussing more. We'll return very shortly.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello? This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Don't fear. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome to English in a Minute. It's no surprise that cats like to sleep. A nap is a short period of sleep.
There you are. The movie is about to start.
I'm sorry. I got up at 5 this morning to go swimming, and then I helped a friend move some furniture.
Are you sure you aren't too tired for this movie?
No. I took a cat nap. As long as this movie isn't boring, I'll be fine. What are we seeing anyway?
The Long, Dark Winter. It's a 3-hour foreign movie. I hope you like subtitles.
A cat nap is just a short amount of light sleep during the day. This expression became popular in the 1820s. The person who first used it probably lived with a lot of cats and noticed just how much they sleep. And that's English in a Minute.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
And thank you for keeping it with us. We are now joined by Dr. Alan Yonzima Moruta, who happens to be the Commissioner in charge of Epidemics and Disease Surveillance, Ministry of Health, the man who is handling the Ebola issue at his epitome, coordinating here and there, and falls under his docket in the ministry. Doctor, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, viewers.
Doctor, to begin with, please kindly paint us a picture of how we are standing as a country regarding Ebola.
Thank you very much, Robert. We are now standing at about 60 cases under admission. Out of those, 43 are suspects. And 17 are confirmed. And those ones, we have contacts. Those that have gotten in contact with them. So we have listed over 700 contacts. But doesn't mean that all of them are going to turn positive. A few of them may turn positive. And so also we have had some cases outside the initial Mubende. We have cases in Kasanda. We have a case from Chegegwa. We have a case from Bunyangabu. Now Bunyangabu is a new district. We have gotten a case. And then Kagadi. So these are now four districts. So that's where we stand, and the current treatment center is still in Mpende. We are trying to establish another treatment center. As you can see, this number is quite big. So we are establishing another treatment center at one of the sub-counties in Mubende called Madudu, at Madudu Health Center 3. And so that's where we are as a country.
Now, Doctor, there is disturbing question. Usually, the Ministry of Health, through the experts, can tell the source of the disease. But when we look at right from the first family, people are wondering where they had the first case was registered. This time, we are not saying maybe someone traveled to Zaire, that to DRC. How did we get Ebola outbreak this time? Because that is what is running the minds of the people, not showing us that someone crossed with the disease. How did this family, the first case, where did they get Ebola from?
Yeah, that is still under investigation, and when we get to know, we shall tell the country. But Robert, as you may know, the initial cases we registered a few deaths. And so our teams who are doing investigations are trying to see among those that died who was the first one to get the first onset of symptoms. This is really like a post-mortem because people already passed away. And so you can imagine how difficult it is to really find the index case. Even when you get the first one to get symptoms, doesn't mean that it was the first one to get infected. People have different factors that could cause them to have early onset of symptoms or late onset of symptoms. If somebody has got a strong immunity and other factors, the symptoms may come on late. When actually was the first one to get infected. But commonly we know that viral hemorrhagic fevers, the reservoir are fruit bats.
Fruit bats.
Fruit bats. And as you know, fruit bats are common in many of our forests. They have been found in a number of environments, including the forests of Queen Elizabeth National Park. These are studies that have been done. Also, in those districts between Mubende, Kakumiro, and Kagadi, there are forests with fruit bats in there. So we're still suspecting that, of course, it must have come from any of the fruit bats in the forest there. How they come to interact with humans is also very easy to tell because fruit bats eat fruits. Humans eat fruits. Monkeys eat fruits. So at that point, we are trying to determine at what point that interaction took place. But this is still work in progress.
Now, we're told we are having a strain that is very difficult to handle. Actually, one expert was telling that once you present yourself with symptoms, you have 30% chances of survival. Doctor, how true is this? And what is the gravity of this Sudan strain that we are battling with now?
Well, what you're saying is true. I also want to let you know, by the way, that we have discharged some 2 people that have been treated at Mubende. And so that's 30%, depends on a number of factors. It could even be increased. Currently, actually, the deaths that we have had, so far we've had 8 deaths among the confirmed cases. As at the end of Saturday, the case fatality rate has not gone beyond 65%. So meaning that the chances of survival are now 35%. But also that is determined by how early somebody is presented at the treatment facility. And this is where we urge our people down there in Mubende, those among the contacts, the timeliness, especially of reporting somebody who has developed symptoms, evacuating this person to the facility, or somebody presenting himself, or even calling our lines as soon as they get symptoms, if they know that they have come in contact with somebody who has been confirmed, is of essence. The earlier they present themselves to the doctors who are treating, the better the chances of survival. Because there, although we don't have a definitive treatment for this Ebola Sudan, we have seen that among those people who were discharged, they were picked early, they presented early, and they were managed and they recovered. Yeah, so the chances increase with how early the treatment is started.
Now, also, you've talked about symptoms. Take us through some of the symptoms that we can use to know that it's now time to report this could be a suspected case.
Okay. Of course, the symptoms are not very, very specific. They are the usual symptoms like you get for malaria, for these common causes of fever like tonsillitis, urinary tract infection. Any of infective processes can give you the same symptoms. But if there is a link, for example, if you develop symptoms and you have come in contact with a confirmed case, or even somebody who could have died suddenly, even if he's not confirmed, but he died suddenly and you came in contact with that person, you should be able to suspect that you could have this disease. Or if you travel to the same locality, even if you don't know, but if you travel to Mubende, Kasanda, Bunyangabo now, and Kagadi, and you develop these symptoms, which include the highest, the commonest is fever, high-grade fever, which does not reduce. You know, certain fevers come on and then reduce, and then you do sweating, and then this one is quite high grade and it's ever increasing. The other symptom is headache, muscle ache. People commonly get sore throat, they get abdominal pain, diarrhea and vomiting, and general weakness. So the symptoms are quite a number, but the commonest is high-grade fever with headache. And so when somebody gets it and is a link, however remote, that person should suspect that he could have the disease. We should call our toll-free lines. There's a central toll-free line which I shared with you some time back, and I'll write it down for you to share with our viewers. Also, there are lines down there in Mubende. There are lines in all these districts for people to call and alert the teams that are on the call the other end and talk to them so that these people are able to verify them and decide what is the next course of action. If they find that these people have got a link and then the symptoms are similar, then these people are quickly evacuated to the treatment facility where a sample is taken and the test is either confirmed or disregarded.
Now, talking about response, let's look at how prepared we are, doctors, hospitals. Recently, we saw a doctor that is from Tanzania who succumbed to Ebola. And of course, she was buried here in Uganda. But we've also had medical experts, medical personnel complain. One told me that, no, in Mubende Referral Hospital, all is well. And you're not complaining, the personal protective equipment is there. But we are saying, what about other regional hospitals? How prepared, how safe? Because before I want to save a life, I must be sure mine is safe. I won't go in harm's way to save a person. So how are we protecting, how are we the welfare of these people handling these cases or in other hospitals? Because we never know, it can surface in any part of this country. It's not only on the 4 districts you've talked about. So how have you equipped? Do we have the right people trained? Who will forget Dr. Matthew Rukia, who was the medical superintendent at Lacho Hospital? So all these speak volumes to the welfare and health of our personnel.
Yeah, of course, a disease which is highly infectious of this nature is bound to get some of the health workers, especially when they are unsuspecting. Why? Although we provide personal protection equipment, the procedures, especially the procedures of taking off the personal protective equipment, is elaborate. Is very elaborate. If a doctor is not suspecting that somebody has got this disease, even if he's putting on personal protective equipment and does not go through the detailed procedures of removing the PPE, the personal protective equipment, he can easily infect himself. Yes. And this is where I want to tell health workers to clearly get oriented. A number of health workers in these facilities in the 4 districts have been oriented on how to don and doff. These are the terminologies, but they simply mean to put on and putting off. Donning is putting on and doffing is putting off. Now, donning has no problem because you're just putting on. But also, how do you put it on? Is it foolproof? Have you put it on properly? Haven't you left something that would let you get in contact with blood or body fluids of the patient? So also donning is important. But even most important is the doffing. Because remember, you have it on your PPE, on the surfaces. So any slight mistake, you take off, it splashes in the eye, that is it. You got it. Splashes on your skin and then you somehow you touch yourself and get into the soft part, you've got it. So quite a number of times, it is not that these people are not protected. It is that they forget certain steps. I do not want to go into details of how somebody may get infected, but imagine a situation where a doctor goes in theater and is not only getting in touch with the body fluids, but is really touching the blood. It's all over him, on the goggles, on the hand, sometimes even on the... So if you have quite a big dose of the body fluids of a victim, you need to be even more careful how you remove step by step. It's quite elaborate. And it's not for many health workers that do it. So we have oriented the staff how to do it. We have put these guidelines out there. All health workers should read them and follow them very, very carefully so that we don't get health workers get infected.
Now, away from the health workers, how prepared are our health facilities? Because we know first cases may not present themselves to regional hospitals. They may first go to these other health centers. Do you have what it takes? How quick is the response team? Because most of the times we've said, we have this in place, that in place, but are these systems functioning as we hope they should be, as planned from the headquarters? In case someone called these lines, will they get that immediate quick response? And when they get it, do we have these facilities away from what is in Mubende that in case maybe I contracted Ebola, today, and maybe I suspect I may not go to, how prepared the system. Have you done some checks of it? Because it is different to plan and different to ensure that what you've planned is in place and is functional.
Yeah. Of course, the country is at different levels of preparedness. The most prepared are these 4 districts. We've had to reorient them in a number of procedures. Their district task forces are active, and in terms of preparedness and response, we have a number of areas that we look at. We call them pillars. So looking at the pillar of coordination is how the leadership and governance is of that of the task force. At district level, it's called a district task force, but we also have a national task force. And this is basically the coordination pillar offers the resource mobilization, the leadership, the governance, and all the coordination activities. Then there are other technical pillars like surveillance, where people should be, their areas should actually be up. So we set up an alert line, we share the toll-free lines. Even if they are not toll-free, we share lines at least where people can call and they can be answered. And if there is somebody that suspect that may be a suspect, we link up with now another pillar of emergency response. And these ones are provided with ambulances, with the fumigators for disinfecting the environment where they are going to evacuate, and quickly they go to the community and evacuate. So now that is surveillance. Surveillance has quite a number of sub-pillars, including contact tracing, including active case search, including mortality surveillance. Anybody who dies suddenly without known cause, also we target that one. And we even take off a post-mortem sample and send it for examination. So that is surveillance. And that aspect, to a great extent, the districts are prepared. Then there's another pillar of risk communication. This is where we now educate the masses on the symptoms and everything else that we need to communicate to enlighten the masses about the disease. So that pillar is also there. It works with all the media houses. Also, it involves actually reaching out the communities and educating them, conducting radio talk shows, and people call in and they are clarified and all that. So that is the risk communication. Logistics is another very big pillar. Of course, this is like a war.
Definitely.
You need to have supplies, you need to have the PPEs that you're talking about. You need to have medical, we call them medical countermeasures, but these are just medical sundries. Although there's no definitive treatment, but we have certain medications that we give, IV fluid, all those must be there. So there's logistics. It's responsible for quantifying and looking at the supply chain. If anything is going low, they order before it gets finished. The other pillar is vaccination. You look at the options of vaccination and see whether there can be a candidate for vaccination. You go through the procedures of having the protocols approved by the scientific committees that are local. The other important pillar, maybe this time it is a sub-pillar, that is infection prevention and control, to make sure that people are well protected, to make sure that hand washing in facilities amongst the clients, amongst the health workers is taking place. So IPC and WASH usually move together. And of course, there are other sub-pillars like psychosocial support.
Okay.
A number of these people have got, when they get affected, they are in the treatment unit, they have no hope. They need people to talk to comfort them, to give them hope. And of course, even people at home. A number of them, we isolate them at home when they are contacts. They need to speak to people. They need their anxieties to be allayed, but also to be told when to report, so that as soon as they get symptoms, they
can communicate.
But mainly issues of counseling and psychosocial support to make sure that psychologically they are stable. Other people get depressed and others get very anxious, and all those need to be attended to. Yeah, so there are a number of pillars that we go through in preparedness and response. And as you know, as we respond, we prepare. And all that is taking place in the 4 high-risk districts. But also we have the surrounding districts. There are about now 22. And the levels of preparedness are also high. They are on high alert. And actually, their district task forces with those respective pillars are active. They are meeting on a regular basis to make sure that the loose ends are being tied. And I need to say also that the rest of the country can be at risk. Any contact who is going to turn positive can move, much as we isolate them, but the enforcement is really, we don't police them. And so somebody can decide to move from here to Gulu or Kabale. Okay? And so the rest of the country is also at risk, although the risk is less.
The risk is less. Now, Doctor, in the interest of time, I want to get your final remarks, factoring in very well what we should do to prevent the spread, because one of the things I've found that is very hard is contact tracing. So we must prevent, well knowing that we don't have limitations to movement, well knowing that we've had people who have turned out to be escapees from some of these centers, and well knowing, actually, when you rightly said the fruit bats, the monkeys, these are some of the things that can easily move. What should we do at first individual level, then community?
Yeah, thank you very much, Robert. There's quite a lot that we need to do. First of all, as a country, we need to continue educating the masses about this disease, so that they get to know it, they get to know the symptoms, so that if they get a person getting affected and maybe could have come in contact with a confirmed case, this person should be able to suspect that he could have gotten that disease and report early. But also to avoid getting in contact with people who have got a link to a confirmed case by way of, first of all, distancing themselves. Even if this person is in your household, you can keep a good distance. You can wash your hands frequently with hands and soap at individual level. If you fall sick, you should go to the hospital at the earliest opportunity, so that the health worker can assess you and rule out the usual causes of fever, so that you are sure you are not dealing with this deadly disease. That is at the individual level. At community level, the communities are urged not to think that this is witchcraft. This is a disease that is known. It may not have definitive treatment, but we know that when somebody is reported early, they can be cured and they go home normal, and this has been demonstrated before. But also communities, I know our communities like to congregate. When somebody loses life, they go, they touch the body, they should avoid touching bodies when they don't know the cause of death. People perform certain rituals, washing bodies, doing water, and even touching not just their bodies, but also their body, the things that come out of them. Some spill on their garments, others on the beddings. They should stay away from people who have died suddenly, especially if they had had symptoms similar to those that I have said. Not only that, also avoid touching their garments. Actually, for us, what we do, we advise that the garments and all the beddings are put on fire.
I saw that.
Burn them up. Burn them up and disinfect that environment. If they don't know how to do it, they call us and we go there and disinfect that environment.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Dr. Alan Muruta. Thank you for your time. We know you're having a very busy schedule coordinating here and there, but that is the Commissioner, Epidemics and Disease Surveillance, Ministry of Health, with whom we have been discussing Ebola. Yes, we know there are limited chances of survival once you contract this particular strain. So what is important is, let's first of all report all suspected cases to the Ministry of Health. Then second, let's limit our movements. Let's be very, very careful with our lives at such a time. Avoid monkeys, fruit bats, going to these, picking firewood, then you come home with fruits. That is also one of the areas.
Especially those that are half-eaten.
Half-eaten.
You don't know who ate it. Maybe it's a fruit bat. Yeah.
Well, we can spend the whole day discussing Ebola, but Ruben is here to take you through sports. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow.